Bienvenidos a todos, welcome everyone, I am the Seamster, and it may sound like an echo right now, because it does. I'm inside of an entryway of an old farmhouse, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tile this. And I'm going to show you guys the beginning steps, from putting the cement board down, to tiling it, grouting it, all that stuff, cutting it, you name it. I'm going to show you all of it, the beginning steps, from what you see right now, to a finished product. Get down to the subfloor. Subfloor meaning this plywood or OSB, and if you're in an old farmhouse, it'll be just plank boards. If you have plank boards like this house did, then you need to put an OSB down. This is a 1/2 inch OSB plywood, and just as you can see, and you just cut it to fit. Okay, so once you have that all screwed down, then you're gonna have to vacuum the floor. Yeah, get up any type of dirt, sand, or like staples that it could have broken off, or little just chips of wood. Your cement boards, your 1/2 inch cement board, that's the board that goes down that your tile will go on top of, typically comes 5 foot by 3 foot. Okay, so make sure you take your measurements, you make sure you're accurate when you go and get your materials at Home Depot or any type of lumberyard. So I'm taking my measurements across, and I'm just a little short than 5 feet. Okay, so I'm gonna have to nip off probably about, I don't know, a good inch. It's okay, you don't have to butt that cement board all the way up to the walls. You can leave just a little bit of a gap, maybe a 1/4 inch gap all the way down, because that tile is going to be on top of that, and it can go right against the wall. So when you go to cut this cement board, you can easily use your skill saw or your table saw, as long as it's got a carbide tip blade. And honestly, most of them that you purchase that come with it have a carbide tip blade, and it's going to be no problem cutting through this cement board here. Be sure that you're wearing some type of protective mask because of the silica that's inside of the cement board. It's very dangerous. You hear about it all the time on commercials. So you breathe this stuff in, it gets inside your lungs, it doesn't break down, it just stays right inside of you. So wear some type of protective mask. These masks right here, you can get them on eBay for about 15 bucks, and it's well worth it, even just to have when you're working around a house on just about anything. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a try inside and see if it fits in that doorway. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is the easy part. I'm just going to keep cutting off an inch and just work my way down until I gut right there, and then I got to cut around that, but that's not a problem either. I'll just make the right measurements. It's almost like a big puzzle piece when you go to lay this stuff down. And what I typically do is, in a small area like this, is I'll just get all these cut and I'll lay them down, and then I'll start actually screwing these into the floor. Just making sure that they all stay nice and tight that way. But if this room was really, really huge, then I would probably go about 2 or 3 sheets, and then I'd start screwing these down and then just keep working my way down. Cement board is down, as you can see, all the way through here, and now what we have to do is we have to fasten this to the subfloor. And what you're going to use is, what I use is a Torx head screw, and it's 1 5/8 inches, and they're a lot cheaper than the cement board screws that you're going to get. This probably half the price, and these will actually do the job, and they'll pierce right through this, and they'll push that cement board right down to the subfloor if it hasn't already. Your cement board will either come marked already, where you will put these deck screws into it, and if it doesn't, then you have to actually mark your own lines. I'm just going to go with an 8-inch square. Okay, 8 inches meaning 8 inches to the next screw, and then go over another 8 inches, 8 inches, and so on and so forth. So you basically have a screw, basically every 8 inches there is going to be a screw holding that 3 foot by 5 foot cement board down to your subfloor. Another thing, that if you don't have a cordless drill, listen, your regular drill can do the job. All right, just have an extension cord on hand, and this will do the job. But if you do have a cordless drill, great. If you don't have one, hey, go buy one off eBay for about $25. You get 2 batteries with that. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular, but hey, you always have a cordless drill with you, and you have a spare battery. So all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to screw the rest of these down, and just show you how easy this is. You put the screw in and simply push down, watch your fingers. Put a little pressure down on the drill, and that's it right there. And then you're just gonna move on to the next one. Okay, so when it comes to putting these screws in, when you're butting these two cement boards together or when you're near an edge, it's best that you stay an inch away from the edge, okay? Even when it comes to the sidewalls here, and there's a reason. Because if you get too close, within a ½ inch of being closer to an edge, when you go to screw this down, what ends up happening is that it's so weak in that area there that all that will do is just chip away and it'll just break into pieces. So you want to stay about an inch away from the wall or an inch away from a seam. Also, when you do screw this down, you don't want that to be above the cement board, and you don't want it to be too far down into the cement board. You just want that to just go just below the surface of the cement board, okay? Because if you keep pressing that down, all you're doing is just cracking that cement up underneath it, and then that's just weak, and this board can just, you know, come loose like that. I'm going with an 18 by 18 inch tile. I just feel that it covers more and it actually looks a little bit more appealing to the eye. And I'm going to, you're going to need a sanded grout, okay, and that's going to fill in all of the lines, the cracks in between all the tiles once them are down. And you're going to need some ThinSet mortar. Most people just call this just cement for your tiles. And this right here, it's a 50-pound bag, and this bag right here is a, looks like 25-pound bag. We're outside and we're with our $59 What tile saw, and what this does is it carries the water down below here. You can buy these at Home Depot and Lowe's or even online on eBay, and it has an 8-inch diamond cutting disc right here, and that actually cuts right through the tile with no problem. It doesn't say that it's recommended for an 18-inch tile like this right here, because look at that, that thing's about as big as that, because there's no guard, okay, that can actually handle this, and it's kind of heavy, so you're gonna have to hold this steady, line it up, and then simply cut it. If you're off a little bit, pull it back and readjust, and then just straighten it out, okay? You just don't want to bind too much on that cutting disc there. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's turn this on, and you're going to need some safety glasses because this does throw water and it does throw the porcelain from the tile. At times it can throw it back in your face, so just be ready. You know, you're going to possibly get a little bit wet because it's going to spatter a little bit. That's why it's got this guard on here. So put your glasses on. Let's go ahead, let's get this cut. As you can see, there's my cut here, so all I need to do is just turn this tile and simply cut it that way and it'll match right there. But what's going to end up happening is that this tile is going to break off once I get real close, so just kind of just shave that just a little bit to make it nice and straight. So I'm simply just turning it, and just leave the water on the top because that's good, because it helps it to slide through. Just like that, our piece is cut out, so let's just go inside and check it out. But first, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have a towel nearby so that you can wipe this off. So this is where we're going to make our cuts, and it's good to have your measuring tape and level. Now, you really don't need it to level anything out, but you need to scribe your lines. So as you can see, I made my first cut here, and I'm going to show you what I did on the other side. My tile needs to set in here. So all I do is I find my proper gap, and I put this against where I want that to be, and I leave this away probably about, like I said, 3/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch is a little too much right here when it comes to this being where the doorway entry is. I only want that on my sides here where my trim is going to go, and that's 5 inches. And I give myself just a little bit of a gap, but I'll give myself a little bit more, okay? Because I want that 3/8 to 1/4 of an inch gap. So I'm going to go 5 inches and 3/8. So I just simply mark 5 and 3/8 on my tile, and I scribe my line. Okay, and I go to the outside over here, and I do the same thing, 5 3/8. Now all I do is just connect the dots. That's what I'll cut out here, and then this piece will simply just slide right on in there, just like that. Get your carpenter handy pencil, just like this one right here. And let's check the gap. Good. Slide that over, slide it down so it matches down here. Just kind of finagle it just a little bit. Okay, good and good. Push them down to where they need to be so that it's level all the way across. Carpenter's pencil, handy, here and here, here. And we're gonna match up this bottom corner, so I'm just gonna push that in a little bit. My 4-foot level would go right along this bottom edge here, just to level all these out in the beginning. Like I say, your first row is the most important. If you wanted to, if you have the time, you can lay all these tiles out before you even put your thin set down. Get every single tile cut, laid out, just like a little puzzle, and when you're ready to go, you just go and you're off to the races. And by the time you know it, this job is done because your tiles are already cut. All you need to do is put your thin set down. Okay, so I'm gonna cut one more row out, and it's time to lay down some thin set. And pouring them out in here, I would say maybe about 3 inches worth on the bottom. Right now at the bottom of the bucket, I probably have right there, close to that line, that's almost 3 inches. And we're going to pour some water in here, and then we're going to mix this up. Don't be breathing this stuff in, okay? Just add a little bit at a time, because that water will go a long ways. Get the edges, get the corners, because it'll be dry down in the bottom of the bucket there. And this is a 5-gallon bucket. It's still sticking to it. And it's just wanting to run off. That's a good consistency right there. Still got that putty knife here. We're going to take our bucket, and all you're going to do is just take this stuff and just kind of just move it around the floor, just like that. Just gonna rub it all over the place, okay? Nice and thick. You want to do that because just in case there are any powder bubbles in it that are in there. All right, that's a good little area to work with. Okay, so now hand trowel. You want that area to be nice and thick. So here we go with the little graded teeth. We're going to go ahead and take our first tile piece here. Okay, this is the fun part here. Set it against there. It's going to slide. It's okay. It will slide for you. And go ahead and get that lined up. Okay, keeping your gap all the way around. And just kind of wiggle it in place. I don't like using a rubber mallet on this. Okay, I'll just simply just press down on the tile. That's all I'm going to do. Remember our carpenter pencil right here. This will just slide. Just like that. As you guys can see, we're slowly working our way, and just another quick little tip that when you go to place these tiles down, okay, you want to start on one corner. So just set one corner down and then line it up the best you can, and then just let it simply drop about maybe an inch away. Okay, so an inch away, and then make sure that you wipe off your fingers on your dirty pants. And I just want to point out one more tip. A lot of people that tile professionally, they will put the thin set on the back of their tile board just to let it fill in some of these spaces in here. Typically, I don't do that. If you're working commercially, industry, I mean, probably they're going to do that because, you know, they're getting a lot of high impact. Once you're doing a job, you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, I got to finish the whole floor. No, just simply stop where you're at, clean up whatever ThinSet that you have already spread out, and just simply just clean it up and just put it back in a bucket, wash it out with water, and start again. As you can see, I had to leave a little path right here, right there actually, where you see the ThinSet now. I had to leave a little path, but now I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these tiles up in that spot, and then you know, we can walk right here on these tiles right here to get from one side to the other side, no problem. The floor is down, and I did special touches here. I did the tile as trim, okay, and all I did was I just did 2.5 to 3 inches with tile trim, and I just followed the grout lines. I haven't grouted yet because I want to make sure that my trim is down. And you can see I went all the way around, and the bonus feature, of course, is you want to go around your doors, okay? So it's good to go around the doors also, just work your way up. And what I did is I just went a little wider around the door, but what I'm using is a liquid nails, heavy duty. Get the big bottle, a little bottle, doesn't matter, but I'd just go ahead and get the big one. And you put this on the back side, it just takes one thick strip, just little tiny pieces of trim tile, and that's what I use to go underneath to give me my space. And when your tiles are wet, you want to have a blow dryer. Yes, have a blow dryer to heat up the back side so that there is no moisture on the back side of the tiles when you put this liquid nails down on the back of the tile. So as you can see, I have a gap right here, and I don't want to get the liquid nails on this trim piece for the door frame because it'll just squeeze out behind it. I want to keep it right here so that it doesn't squeeze out. Now, you see there's a gap right here. What I do is I take a piece of masking tape and I just put that right in there, because when I go to grout this, I want to make sure that that grout doesn't go all the way inside there. I want it to stay right here with the tile. So I have my spacer, and all I'm doing is putting this on an angle, just looking where that's going to be. Make sure that that doesn't smash out on the outside here. And just like that, make sure it lines up there. Just kind of like smashing it down, rubbing it in, make sure that that liquid nails adheres. So go ahead and put the piece of tape on the bottom, and make sure it's just nice and flush. And then put one on the top and make sure that is also flush, okay, with your spacer right there. Okay, that didn't take me too long to get to the top of the door jamb, so here I am, and I just want to show you guys how to get your tiles to stay there. You have to build like a little shelf. I used some underlayment board, okay, it's only like less than 1/4 inch thick. And I just put some screws here, here, and here, and that works like a shelf. So just let that underlayment just come out this way so your tile can sit nice and firm on that. Yeah, I've already started to grout these going up along the doors, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start here at the door and I'm going to work my way back. So what is the consistency? Alright, so we got our sanded grout that's inside of this 5-gallon bucket, and I only use a portion at a time. And make sure that you have a putty knife. That right there is a 3-inch putty knife, and here's a 1.5 putty knife. And you're going to need a sponge squeegee rubber grout float. Okay, it's kind of got like a little sponge type action there. And it comes on a handle, and this only costs probably around $8 at Home Depot. Okay, and that's what you're going to use. I'm going to show you here to rub that grout into the joints, as you can see along the floor. You can't do that along the side here, the side walls. You have to use your putty knife that I just showed you right there, and just kind of just smash it in there. And you can see I got tape. Okay, so I use the tape to build up my edges right here. So when I pull that tape off, there'll be a flat edge. And if it's not flat enough, I can just add simply some more grout just to even that out, to fill up any spaces in case there's an air pocket that's inside there. So that tape I'll just peel off. Once that dries off, I'm going to still sponge this in a little bit, so stay tuned. So we got to mix this up. I got to add some more water. Just kind of put that on there like that so we have something to work with, so we don't have to keep reaching inside of the bucket. Okay, so all I'm going to do is put some on the corner like that. And I'm just going to just kind of smash that in there, okay? And you'll know when it's full, because I'll just start squeezing out the sides. And then just come up with it or go down, either way. But if you got the right consistency, you just go ahead and spread this out. It's going to be a mess, but it'll clean up. Don't worry about that. Simply go ahead and put that down and just smash this into the grout lines and just work it. You can come back on it. So just like I say, in the beginning, just go ahead and just swirl that back and forth, kind of like that. Just kind of like smashing it in. You just add more water if it starts getting a little too dry. Now, this right here, what I'm going to do is just show you. You just take that putty knife and just smash it in there. Just make sure that it doesn't dry up, okay? Just make sure that it's going on really smooth, like peanut butter. You want it to be nice and full. So when you go over it with a sponge, which I'm going to show you next, okay? You'll see what I mean. It'll just smooth its way out. Okay, so when you're going to sponge this up, basically, you're going to need yourself 6x10, 6x9 sponge, like this right here, like you wash your car with. And make sure that it don't have a lot of water on it, okay? So make sure you wring it out pretty well. And all you want to do is just go over the grout, okay? Back and forth. And you can see that it smooths out, almost like a milkshake. And you'll see there's little air bubble holes in there, and you want to fill them in. So just keep going back and forth, okay? And not too much. You don't want to take away too much grout. This grout will dry on top of this tile, so you want to be kind of quick, okay? You got to get this done like within 15-20 minutes, okay, after you do this, okay? So make sure you keep an eye on the time, because if you're using a porous type tile like I am, it'll get inside of these, and you really got to scrub them out, okay? So don't get too far ahead of yourself, and make sure you keep cleaning the sponge, okay? Because it's just going to build up with the grout inside of it, and just keep wringing it out, okay? And just keep going over it. And it'll clean up nicely. I let this dry for about 2 to 3 hours after I wiped it up twice. So this is my third time I'll be wiping it up. And what's happening is that there's little sand granules that are in there, and it's kind of like a dust. And you just got to keep cleaning this up. So make sure you always have a clean bucket of water, clean sponge, and simply just wipe it up. And all I'll do is just keep working my way all the way over to the other side. And bam! Just like that, everybody. That's how you tile from beginning to end. As long as you have the right tools, the right wet tile saw, and you follow the instructions, and you make sure you have the right mixture as far as the ThinSet is concerned, and also your grout, everything will just work out perfectly. If you want to increase the value of your home, or you want to try to sell your home or sell your business, it's a great attraction when people first walk in or they just see tile, because it just shows that somebody took the extra effort. And it really is not that hard, as you see. It's just a little time consuming, that's all. So remember, the only excuse you make is the one that you actually say. Peace out. Cue the music.